Wanted to start off just giving you all just a little bit of who Citrix is. If you knew Citrix back in 2000, even earlier, we were born as a company in 1989. And if you knew us back then we're not really your father's Citrix anymore. It's going to be a scenario to where you're going to see us in very similar light, because one core thing has never changed with Citrix, and that is the ability to deliver as it would relate to almost like installed or better than installed. And we do that, and we do it always from the end user's experience. And we started in '89. It was remote access and remote access into early versions of Windows Server NT, and then it's just progressed on through the years, adding on not only the content collaboration through the files, all the way up through full desktops for VDI type experiences. And we just continue to keep our core, and that being the end user experience, and it's our guiding light that gives us the ability to continue moving on and on to be able then to present more and more. And we'll definitely get into more of what Citrix does, and I think that we'll do it in probably a better way than what I've been able to do with words, with some demos later. But with that, Ray, I think you've got the meat of this presentation. Why don't I get it to you?
All right. Well, let me jump in with just one slide, share a little bit about who A2K is. We are a partner of Citrix. And first of all, I want to say is when we selected Citrix as our partner for the future of work, what we were thinking essentially is they're the godfather of secure remote work. And they've come out with some great new technology, which we're going to demonstrate for you, that really just changes the entire employee experience and brings some efficiency. Well, regarding our company, we're a service company. We create future of work solutions. And what that really means is that we take a look across all the technologies that are in play today, and we translate those into business outcomes and things that people care about. So kind of a Rosetta Stone activity. We provide advisory services. We help with human capital strategy and management, along with employee experience, process automation and optimization. And then, of course, today, you can't do any of this without being in the cloud. But I do want to highlight that we are a mobile-first company. We're looking to enable the experience from any device and allowing people to work from anywhere. So that's just a little bit about our company. And we're going to jump right into the industry update and talk about the future of work. So this particular series, we call it the Path Forward. And we have been doing a number of these. I believe this is the most important topic that leaders of any organization need to be working on today. What we'll share with you is a look into the past and some lessons of people who have gone through previous crises and challenges and what they've done to come out of it thriving and ahead. And we'll also share with you what some of our current clients are doing stealthily behind the scenes to do the same right now. We'll have some statistics and some plans to share with you, and then a bit of a demo. So the word VUCA has been around a while here. I'll tell you, when I first heard this word, I thought it was for somebody else. I love it. It's a pretty extreme word. Well, as of March, it has really made things real for us. Like VUCA has touched everybody. And what's happened here is that unforeseen forces, and in this case, it happens to be, regarding the virus, but we also have these in business. There's someone somewhere starting a company that's developing a business model that is going to disrupt us, and we need to be ready for that, right? And in order to get ready for it, we need to have a different mindset. And what I want to challenge all of you today is to start thinking about this as an opportunity, a time to innovate, and a place to essentially make your move now. It's time to actually act and do something. And we're going to share with you what we believe those plans are and what others are doing. In terms of change, in the last 3 months, from our polling and working with clients, it's equivalent to about 15 years of change. Things that people had on the long-term planning horizon on what they wanted to do with their employees and technology right? It's now upon them and they need to do something with it. Right? So everything has been accelerated, and we think this is going to continue for some time on this trend of accelerated change, which means, even if we didn't have plans ready to go, we still need to make plans and prepare to come out of this particular situation better than when we went in. One of the polls that we did, originally we thought this was going to be kind of hospitality, and maybe it was going to be the airline industry, and then we saw retail impacted. Well, what we find here is that we have a very interconnected economy. Every business, every vertical, from public and universities all the way through manufacturing, have been impacted, and not just one aspect of their business. Everything from operations through supply chain and revenue. So this is a situation that we're all figuring out. Our plans are going to be a little bit different, but there's some common themes that we could borrow from. We started this particular Future of Work series back in March. Eric mentioned we did our first event in person in Dallas, and we had these three topics on the left: employee experience, employee engagement, and productivity. They were pretty broad topics, some discussion of very specific things that were going on. And then as we progressed into March and numbers changed, March through May, what we saw was a rapid move to keep our people safe, get them enabled working remote, just stabilize business, just the air, food, and water of our business, just keep things going until we could figure this out and, assess what's going on and what do we do next. During this period, some of our clients were coming to us and say, Ray, I got to get up and running on remote, but I just want a 3-month contract. Like, I think we'll do this for a little while, and then, we're going to get back into the office and we'll be on our network. Well, now since the May timeframe, and now we move into July, people are starting to realize this. We're going to have a permanent version of this. Not exactly clear what it is, but the need to work remote from any device is going to be permanent. We also are hearing that people are starting to think about the productivity side. Their own assessment of their organization is that the people they rapidly move to remote are only about 60 to 75% as productive as they were before. The way that technology was provisioned didn't really help them that much, quickly putting them on Slack and Teams. And now all of a sudden we have a lot of distractions going on, and, we're on video calls quite a bit, which is a new thing. And then the security side, people are coming back around and saying, oh my gosh, I have 40% of my workforce is working from their home Wi-Fi on their personal systems or on their personal devices. So the risk or the attack surface area for cyber concerns have grown. So now it's time to come back and really focus on security and productivity. A favorite author of mine, Ryan Holiday, one of the many books that he's written is The Obstacle is the Way. Highly recommend it. And what Ryan does here is he talks about what people did in periods of great trauma, crisis. I had a chance to meet Ryan going back about 7 months ago, and I asked him, I said, how is it that you can look into the future and help people with guidance and advice? He said, Ray, I really look into the past first, and I borrow from that, and then I see the patterns, and then we apply it into the future. Well, he's done the same here in this book, and a couple of comments that I just want to share with you that I think is appropriate for this time is, one, he cited leaders in the past, going back even to Roman times. Essentially, they flipped the script. Rather than being a victim, they said that these periods actually defined their leadership because they did something different and they led people through the challenges. Consistent with the title, he said that the obstacle, overcoming the obstacle is what gave these leaders the advantage. So, don't try to go around the obstacle, like go through this obstacle, because that's where resiliency comes from. And then in terms of having a plan, he comments that you think these leaders had some, master plan in some book, was, when they were ready for everything that hit. Well, they didn't. Any comment was, just press forward, start anywhere, anyhow. And then my favorite here is we all need to act the way we want things to be rather than the way they are. And that would be the shortest path into the future. So a bit looking at history, some lessons learned. Now, let's take a look at some numbers. In terms of the last 3 recessions, 88% of the job losses that occurred were in areas that were highly automatable. And if we apply that number to our current situation, about 42% of the jobs that were lost are likely to be automated or obsoleted through upskilling. So this is kind of the challenge that we have is, think from an organization perspective is, you know, how do we get on and get ahead of these needs? How do we help our employees and our workers of all type to upskill? How do we free up time and energy to drive innovation? Let's find out what you all are thinking about. Tony, can you put the first poll up, please?
Sure.
All right. What we'd like to do is just get some insight into the challenges that you're facing or you expect to face in the next 6 months, you know, through the end of the year. You know, pick all that apply, please.
For those guys on the WebEx session, sorry, you can't submit the poll.
All right. You know, one thing I'll share with you as we're going through this is every city that we have set up these presentations with and work, everybody's a little bit different. You can kind of understand what they've been through in the last 3 to 6 months. All right, Tony, why don't we shut down this poll so we can in there. Employee well-being, 70%. That's probably the highest out of all of the cities that we've been to. We've hit about 50%, I think, before. The cutbacks, that is also close to one of the highest we've had. The security is a little bit lower than we've seen in other places before. So good insights there. Thank you for that. Now, what we are also seeing here with our current clients and customer base is that some folks are pulling out the same old playbook. You know, anytime we run into a challenge, whether it's an economic downturn or, you know, in this case, we have the pandemic and other things that are going on from trade is, you know, there's a reactive approach to essentially just start cost cutting and doing headcount reduction. I know that's a model, trying to save your way into prosperity and thriving. It cannot be the only playbook here. Also, just addressing this as a short-term change, I mean, I think this is what we're seeing more of a permanent shift. But, you know, Eric, I know you talk to a lot of clients as well. What are you hearing and seeing?
Yeah, seeing an awful lot of organizations that are coming back to us and reigniting conversations, because prior to the pandemic, we ran into some organizations that felt that their technology was good enough, or they had the ability to potentially make moves on the fly and, you know, in essence, in the fire. And without a doubt, the virus, the pandemic that we're going through right now is unprecedented. But we cannot say that this isn't something that is going to be waves of things that may come at us from a business perspective, creating these challenges. So really the last thing that we can really rest on any longer is that things are good enough, and or that, hey, we'll deal with it when the time comes, because unfortunately, when you look at these things, they move so fast. And when you get into the scenarios and trying to deal with it in the fire, it's just not panning out the way these organizations really felt it would. And ultimately, like I said, having conversations with us again because of the fact that they need to move large groups of people home, and that's in essence what we're enabling them to do.
Thank you, Eric. Well, just down the bottom here, the last line came from a current U.S. general. He said, if you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance even more. So let's go to one more poll here, get some input. And this one is, Tony puts it up. This one, we're interested in terms of what your plans are. What are the things that you're doing to address the challenges, strategies that you're putting into place? And again, please select any and all that apply. Tony, I just love to see how fast these results keep moving.
Well, and what do you mean exactly by monitoring? Just watching it?
So
See if anything changes magically?
So Rachel, if you could wait for one slide, Mr. Bishop is going to go into that, because that was a new one for me too.
Me too.
Eric added that. All right, let's close down the poll. Transforming, I think that's really a healthy number that we've seen. The upskilling and reskilling a little bit higher than we've seen before. And the automating is solid. It's usually been around 50%. So good stuff. Let me, let's get into, you know what, let's answer, Eric, let's answer Rachel's question right here, because I don't recall which slide that's on.
Yeah.
But why don't you talk about the monitoring piece, what's happening?
Sure. So Rachel, when you think of what's going on right now, if you've got kids, here's what I would kind of, this is my mindset, is that when you have kids and you need them to do their schoolwork, a lot of times you tell them, hey, go up to your room, close your door, and I want you to get after your schoolwork. And really 10 minutes after they've been up there, you're kind of wondering, are they really doing their schoolwork? Because they've got a whole lot of things that they could potentially be getting into behind that closed door. And really what I would like you to think of is now that closed door as being the fact that we've moved everybody in a work from home perspective. No longer do we have people at desks. We're not really in that brick and mortar any longer. And what that brings is a challenge to say, are we really getting the productivity out of the employees that we've now sent home? And with what we're working towards with the solution, we need to look at it from a monitoring perspective around performance, so that they can get their work done, having the ability to know just what is being done, and ultimately that security standpoint, giving us the ability to monitor how things are working for them, what is coming in from a security perspective, and ultimately what's coming in from a productivity perspective. We utilize things with artificial intelligence, machine learning, lets it be real time, and then that mystery of that closed door is really not even in play any longer. And we have the ability to almost have that two-way vision into what is going on, even as they work from home.
So it's similar. The thing that's coming to my mind is in a lot of call center situations, you have a dashboard that shows the amount of calls that are coming in, how long they're on that call, if they need to get transferred. So that type of thing, but just across the board in some of the areas that haven't been monitored like that in the past.
Exactly. And it could be threat detection. It could be the fact that Joe that sits in Long Island at 2 in the morning is potentially doing something on the network that he's not normally ever been doing before. And we have that dashboard to be able to say, hey, let's maybe close that down, because that's out of the norm. So we have that ability to monitor it from a security perspective, but also exactly, we've got charts and graphs that are showing us what the normal productivity or the experience should be for particular users. And with some of the tools that we've used in the past, we've actually detected outages from a telco perspective. And then from a help desk perspective, they're not trying to monitor things and say, oh, things are going down. But in all actuality, Spectrum was having a specific issue, and we can be proactive in letting people know exactly what's going on. And yet we're not spending a ton of time looking into process that is not broken. It's simply the connection. Mm-hmm. So yes, all of what you're thinking of, and probably even more, that we're monitoring and graphing for people to be able to respond to.
So it's really related also to our increased capabilities with data and analytics, and the ability to capture data. That feels like where it's coming from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. You know, think about it on two sides. It's work enablement first, and then security second as we go there.
Yep.
Hey, so let's it's some interesting stats in our research here. Just last 3 recessions, about 17% of the companies, some significant change. They either went out of business or they were acquired. We would expect probably a similar percentage going into the future, but this 9% is the one that really intrigues me. So how is it that 9% of the companies actually outperform and flourish during this period of time? Like, what's going on inside of those companies? New term I want to introduce here is kind of winners. And I want to talk about winning companies that they've adapted and seized the opportunity. They figured out how to free up time and energy to do more meaningful and valuable work. That was really the common thread for the 9%. And then some more stats here. Kind of consistent with the 9% is 20% of the companies that went into the crisis or the recession, in the last 3 recessions, in the bottom quartile, they came out, and 20% of them came out in the top quartile. Like, how do you do that? How do you, like, when everything is supposedly fine, you're a mediocre company, and then when you go through a crisis, then all of a sudden you leap ahead of everybody? Like, what did they do differently? And essentially, they saw this as an opportunity. They changed their mindset and they said, this is an opportunity to move ourselves forward. You know, everybody is faced with the same challenges, but if we do something different here, it's going to leapfrog us into the future. So what folks are doing right now, if I had to give you the playbook, they are upskilling. They are aware of skills that they needed for the new economy, whether it's around some new tech or the way people are consuming business today. They're transforming, they're automating mundane tasks to free up time and energy. And then we talked about the monitoring. This is kind of the new playbook. People are doing 1 or 2 of these consistent to put themselves in a position. Now, what is it really going to take to thrive in the next 6 months? I mean, this is great. It's like, Ray, you could talk about this and you could put it on a slide, but like, show me a path. So these next 4 slides are the money slides, and these are timeless, but they're even more important now. The great equalizer is just time and energy. And if you break your time up where it's spent across 4 boxes, the left being survival, you're kind of stuck, you're in a pit, you just can't get out. Functional, not making change, as a matter of fact, just slowly deteriorating. Operational is kind of linear growth. It's good, it's positive, but it's linear. And then the transformational is creating options for yourself, creating new business models, becoming the disruptor. You know, the one thing that I've experienced running businesses is that I can't predict the future. I have great planning tools. I just can't predict. I don't know where that one company in another country or someone else is going to impact. But if I have options, if I'm experimenting and innovating, I could pull forward the option and run that playbook. But the time to go experiment and innovate, right, you can't just wait for that to be upon you. So our analysis over the last 15 years is about 90% of companies, employees, and their leaders are focused on the past and only 10% on the future. It's really scary, but this is the, you know, how it's breaking down. And, you know, the first place we look, or the first thing we ask is just when we talk to a leader is, what does your calendar look like? And you could tell whether it's a reactionary calendar or whether it's a progressive transformational calendar. Some would call on the left kind of a scarcity mindset, fixed mindset. On the right, abundance and growth. Awesome book out there by Carol Dweck called Mindset. So she talks about this. I love her analytics and everything from raising your kids to running a business. The key, though, is how do you shift people's time and energy and focus? How do you take 60% of the time and energy from the left and move it to the right? This is what we've been doing for the last 15 years, and this is why we just love the Citrix technology to do it, because it enables it. On the left, this is around obsoleting, delegating, automating, essentially getting, you know, for every one thing you do, getting 3 things done. So it's all about freeing up human capital to work on the things that matter most for your business. And what the winners are doing and what this looks like, you know, the first thing I want to tell you is the clients that we're working with and doing it, they're not putting out any press releases. They kind of do it in stealth mode. They're diligent, their heads down, they got a strong cadence, but, you know, they're planning at the end of 2020 and into 21 to come out with new capabilities and do things differently. You know, and many of them have had to have some cuts on their staffing, but doing more with less and then still finding time to work on these options and transform are key. I like to call them Amazon-like warfare. Used to be only for the retail space, but everybody's got a bit of Amazon going on, or one of those companies there. These are the ones that are stealthily working to automate and then focus on workforce productivity. Now, again, I don't want to sit here and say that this is just like, press the button on the screen and all of a sudden this happens. As employees, and we all either lead or run and work inside of a company, whether it's our own or for somebody else, and we could be a freelancer as well. But we have realities. A lot's going on. We have life to balance. We have to take care of our families and ourselves, and people have a lot to do every day. However, the technology that we've been giving people, the way we've been providing that technology for it, even though it's the latest SaaS in the cloud technology, great analytics and data, the way it's being deployed is actually frustrating. And it's exhausting our people because it's causing them to do a lot of low value stuff. And if you think about it, we have highly skilled people across the company. We're making everybody react to notifications. I mean, how many notifications do you get across from the collaboration tools, calendars, from your phone? So, the largest block of time you get the focus is like 23 minutes statistically, according to analysis. People are doing mundane things. They're having to switch between applications to get things done, waiting on things, digging for things. And, here's a picture. Look at the left-hand side of the screen. You see that television. And, I would bet that everybody on this call has faced this, is where you show up to a strange, someone's home, or you're at a hotel and you have these 3 remote controls, and all you want to do is turn the TV on, change the channel, raise the volume, and you have these remote controls, and you got to figure out the sequence. And if you push the wrong one, you're going to mess up the box. But again, you just want to turn it on. And if you do 3 button combinations, there's over 720 combinations just on these remotes, right? And why would we do that? Why, for one simple thing like turning on a television, give them 720 options? This application sprawl, which we have in our workplace today, is very similar. And then our employees are telling us 47% are saying their tech needs aren't met. When I first saw these numbers, I was like, are you kidding me? We have more technology today at our hands, but their tech needs aren't being met. They're saying something a little bit different. They're saying maybe the technology that we've given them in the way we've given it to them isn't working. And then the lack of decision-making data. If anything, we have a lot of is data today, but for some reason, the way we're presenting it, or the way we're asking folks to consume it, is not efficient. So here's a picture of a real desktop monitor. It has the average number of windows open, which is 10, the average number of applications, which is 8. And then just continue the analogy, think about it. We have an HRIS system potentially. We have a CRM. We have an IT help desk system. We have collaboration tools. We have content management. And every navigation menu that we put in front of our employees is equivalent to one of these remotes. And we're like, okay, have at it. Go do your work today. And they're like, okay, now I got to navigate between all of these. It's like, what about the things I don't do that frequently, or is not my primary job, but now you're asking me to go back and forth? By the way, there's over 10,000 3-button combinations just looking at these 8 remotes. So not the best way, but however, I think there's a really great opportunity here, and that's what we're going to show you and we're going to demonstrate. Just 2 years ago, automation was as simple as taking 40 links to applications and putting them on one web page. We have those great portals. So now you go to one place and you could click on every link you wanted. However, beyond clicking the link, there was nothing that was automated behind. It was just, you didn't have to search anymore. And for this particular company, they touted freeing up 8 heads. Well, just fast forward 2 years into the future, we now have 10x. We have real results we'll share with you here. But if you just automate 4 applications into what we're calling a workspace, we're freeing up now for the same company 81 heads. Now, these 81 heads are valuable resources that you could put towards things, being proactive on sales, or building some new models and innovating across your company. So freeing up that time and energy for more meaningful work. And just before we hit the demo, let me just describe what this technology does, right? This future-proof technology is one, it focuses on people first and their experience, right? It essentially allows them to personalize how they want to work. Things are automated behind the scenes, right? So they don't have to search. The things that they do regularly that they just need to get done, GSD, get stuff done, right? We could set that up, use artificial intelligence, make it voice enabled. It works across all applications, both legacy and SaaS. And if you think about legacy apps, which I haven't come across a company that doesn't have several of those, it has no browser, modern browser experience. It has no mobile experience. You can't get anything done on the phone. And now with this technology, we're able to essentially enable you to get everything done on the phone that you need to do for your job. And then, of course, it's simplified. One of the great things that our devices have done for us in the consumer world is it kind of showed us how life should be. So, you know, personally, you get on an app, everything works together. There's automatic updates. You could string some of these things together. I see Apple just came out with Microapps now to automate things. Well, in our work lives, we're really far behind. So now with the new technology, we can bring a consumer-like experience. And with this, I'm going to turn this back over to Eric and let him show you what the workspace looks like and how we help people move to the future.
Excellent. All right. Let me share my screen.
Hey, Eric, while you're sharing your screen, we do have a private question. Maybe you can allude into that. Is the how Citrix work on diagnostic radiology imaging systems and things like that. So, okay.
So in all actuality, healthcare is probably one of our largest verticals, if not the largest, and we have the ability to emulate those software packages similar to what we've done, in the Wayback Machine, and putting it on the high resolution screens. Without a doubt, those images can be read, and ultimately even allows for a telecommute or a telemedicine type scenario. So great question, and I would say that we could definitely get more information on that one for him, Tony. It's a great solution. All right, so let me jump into something that a lot of you may have. I just want to go through a little bit of a demo, because what I'd like to show you is the possibility of gaining some efficiencies for your users. And back to Ray's point, doing things that matter. Because in a lot of ways, we do things within our day that really don't matter to the company, but we have to do them because it's just part of what we do. And we'd like to try to gain some efficiencies with the way that we do work today. So what you have in front of you is, like in our case, it's a portal that Ray was referring to. It is and could be seen as all the remotes that were sitting in front of that monitor there, because we all know that there are buttons behind each one of those applications that I could open up that I may, as the director of sales engineering at Citrix, might not even know how or what that button does. But there is one thing that I like to do every now and then, and that's request some time off. So I'd like to show you just how that process is for me right now within Citrix, going into the application with, say, the full remote. So I'm going to go into Workday, and I've already authenticated. So it's part of the SSO process is going on, and I'm going into my instance of Workday, and I'm going to click on time off. And yep, it's time off. I've got 15 days that I'm going to use, and I want to click on the 22nd and the 23rd that I would like to go through and ask for that, request it from my manager. What is this type? It is PTO, and each day is equivalent to a day. I don't need to put any comments in. My boss doesn't necessarily concern himself where I go on my PTO, so I can go and hit submit at this point in time. So that is kind of the way in which a lot of users are going to go through the process and create that PTO request. But again, it's not something I do on a daily basis, and it might be a lot of hunting and pecking for exactly where I need to be. It's not really what matters to me or my job. However, let's think about this in a way that we could elevate this experience, and that is an introduction into the Citrix Workspace. You are looking now at the workspace, and what you're going to see in here is all of your applications, your data, your full desktops if needed. It's in one spot. We've already gone through that SSO process again, but what you'll see here is you see the applications, and you see then all that's going on. And let me step back to the home screen, and let me then take you through that very same request for some PTO. And I'm going to click on the 22nd and the 23rd. Again, I don't need to put in any information for my boss because he really doesn't care. And I click submit. What we've done there is we've gone in and we have removed probably 90% of the buttons that are on that remote, AKA Workday, because we've been able to go in with what we call a micro app, and we have the ability to just get into that finite piece of it to go into just the request PTO. Now, this is something that could be utilized for every or a lot of your applications that sit out there. And then what that creates then for your users is this personalized automation, guiding and automated piece within their feed that allows them then to go through things that they would have gone and maybe hunted and pecked for and or not even seen. But you can see right here, I'm looking at a new employee, new teammate. All right, I'll acknowledge that. I quickly go away from that, and you can see that I've got the ability to go through and do this. Now, again, this is personalized for me. I'm the only one that's getting this particular set of feeds. Everybody else, it's going to be personalized for them as well. But let me show you something that's real slick on this, is that we take this into mobile as well. So scenarios in which I'm now waiting in line for my coffee at Starbucks and I have to stand there a little bit longer because they have to actually put in my half and half instead of me doing it myself. I get that. They're doing it to protect us. However, I can still be productive standing there with my phone, and I can do exactly the same types of things that I was doing on this machine. So it is all about organizing, guiding, and automating, especially with the fact we've sent people home. But this is what Citrix is up to. This is what's new, and this is what's coming. Ray, what do you think of that?
I think it's awesome. So, Eric, let me ask you a question. If I'm a sales leader and it's like at the end of the month or the end of the quarter and I have a sales exception, I mean, is it going to show up in my feed on my mobile device that I could take action, or do I need to go back to my laptop?
No, it'll absolutely show up in your feed. And that's where we're working to gain that speed of business. And it allows us then to utilize not only the ones that you're seeing here, but Ray, you know this better than probably anybody on this call. I mean, we can automate this for those legacy type of apps that, again, like you said, don't have that web presence, and we can make them kind of come in to the new technology.
And Eric, last question here. I mean, can I automate across applications where, let's say it's like I need to onboard a new employee. Can I have different things occur on different software, different applications?
Oh, absolutely. It's a scenario to where we look at the workflows, look at the systems of records, and then we can make that a seamless process for organizations.
Terrific. Thank you for that demo. Jay, turn it back over to me.
Excellent.
By the way, Eric, I was a numbers guy, and I was counting. Can you see my screen now?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Let me go back here, share my screen. So I was counting, Eric. I'm going to get this in presentation mode. It took you 18 clicks in Workday to submit an PTO request, and only 3 on in Workspace. So, guys, I'm an engineer by first degree and a numbers guy, and being in the services world, we have to make the promises of all this software come true. So I want to share with you a couple real case studies. So this is one we're working with right now. It's the fastest growing business unit of a $47 billion company. And just to talk about how to get started, like often we find one innovative leader, somebody who wants to change their mindset and thrive coming out of this crisis, and we get started. And then they show the rest of the company the way. we've automated, we've just started working with this group. We've just integrated one application, it was SAP. We automated 5 workflows around particular reports and credit that's available. This happens to be a sales function and a distribution function. We've already saved them 1 hour per worker per day. And one particular task we saved, it went from 8 hours down to 1 minute. It was we totally obsoleted that. It just automatically. And hey, Brian Tucker, are you on the call?
Yes, I am.
Brian, I know Brian's our COO. Brian's working with this customer, and I know you just said yesterday you had a meeting with them and you had a breakthrough.
Yes, so on the 8 hours per 1 minute, they've got one group in their organization that does distribution. They do about $20 million a year in revenue, and it's only run by 2 people. It's a partner relationship. And what's interesting is that one of their key workflows that they basically do, we took that and we automated it, and it freed up an entire work week for one of those resources. So essentially, it eliminated all of the work that they do every day, 40 hours a week, every day of the year. So they were actually able to free up an entire person to go take that part of their business and go double it. So they're pretty stoked about that. So that's just like some real examples of some things that can be done.
Good stuff. And then the VP of sales here taught me a new term. I was asking him what he was going to do with the additional time he had. And he said, Ray, it's all about proactivity. He's like, in sales, like there's always things you could be calling proactively pursuing new opportunities as opposed to dealing with administration. So he's an extremely happy guy. One of our longtime customers, a name that you recognize, global leader in what they do. We've implemented 13 system of records behind the scenes and well over 18 workflows. However, about a year and a half ago, there was just one workflow that we had on the list, and we went and we automated it. We knew there'd be some efficiency, but we didn't really appreciate how much. And it was around non-standard processing of non-standard work orders. So pretty simple thing. Anything that doesn't have a SKU, the salesperson would have to go into SharePoint, find kind of a dumb document, pull the document out after they found it, fill it out, route it internally for approval, send it to the customer for approval, get it back from the customer, route it through operations and distribution, and that would take 6 weeks. So we went about doing our work, and we went from 6 weeks to 6 hours. Well, that company was so excited because it improved their revenue by $5 million a month. So $60 million with just taking a flat file, dumb document out of SharePoint and being able to route it quicker. So we have changed, as a result of this learning, we've actually changed how we work with companies. We have this survey methodology to find that type of benefit first. So within the first 5 or 10, so rather than being surprised by the benefits, we identify that right up front. And just announced yesterday, and I added this here, Citrix, Upwork, and A2K just formed a brand new partnership. Now, one of the polls that we showed before, people are moving towards a variable workforce, freelancer workforce, bringing in skills that they need or short-term projects. Well, we're automating that process. Often when you bring a freelancer in, you need to make sure they're operating in a secure space, productive, just like you do your employees. So we are taking the Citrix technology and now combining it with the Upwork freelancer. So you can hire a talent and get the secure, productive workspace in the same day. And what that really does is it streamlines the onboarding process. A lot of times freelancers, people are concerned it's going to take a while to get them up to speed. So little graph here, proficiency on the vertical axis, time on the right. The green curve represents what we're experiencing now to get the freelancers up and running. And quite frankly, it could also be for a new employee that you want to bring on board. Remember the remote controls. Rather than just handing people a bunch of remote controls, we actually automate with individual buttons, stuff they have to get done. So rather than saying, hey, Ray, can you convert a lead in Salesforce? And everybody does it different. All you got to do is just push the button. You don't really need to know what's happening, the steps behind the scenes. And in addition, it doesn't stop there. So whether it's new people coming on board or whether it's existing, we're seeing about a 20% increase in productivity. These are real numbers, not just marketing material. So in about 16 weeks, we're able to find 1 day per week per employee and free that up. I mentioned before, I'm a numbers guy. So for a group of 300 employees today, within 8 weeks, you could free up about 38. And then after about 16 weeks, we can get to 66. So, I mean, I can't, I don't know enough about everybody's individual business to say what do I do with the free time and energy. But essentially, by freeing this up, there's no additional cost. I just found resources to go create options, go disrupt, go do things that are going to help me generate more revenue and grow. So as I pull this all together, the methodology in combination with the technology, we're able to shift about 60% of the time and energy from the left side, the scarcity side, to a growth side with A2K, and help clients of ours essentially innovate, accelerate their business, and essentially win and thrive. I mean, there's unlimited possibilities here because the Citrix technology works ubiquitously across all systems of record, all applications, legacy or not. And lastly, to jumpstart things, we wanted to give you a couple of ways of getting started. So I mentioned that discovery survey. Usually in paid engagements, we do this discovery survey to help you find like the applied materials like savings, like which ones. We're going to offer to do this survey with your organization for free and give you the results. We'll do our analysis and tell you what we see. And then you could do with it like, if you have an awesome initiative inside and you want to put it to use and go after some of those, great. If you want our assistance, that would be even better. And then Eric and I are willing to do personalized presentation for you all and demos and show you how particular applications and things you do inside your company. You know, while we did a time off request, those examples I showed you are just core business operations, whether it's sales, whether it's your call center, whether it's customer support. We're also working with universities and healthcare to automate what they're doing. So it's ubiquitous, definitely a better place. I would say please viscerally reject. The next time someone sticks 3 remotes in front of you or gives you multiple applications, just say, isn't there a better way? Like, why would you do this to me? Right? And from a economics perspective, just so you know, you can say, what does this cost? What does it take? So for the price of a latte per worker per business day, right, you can essentially get to 20% better savings and efficiency to go help your business grow and thrive. So this is the future of work from our point of view. It is future-proof, and it's been a pleasure for Eric and I to host you today, and we look forward to engaging and helping you get to the future as well. Thank you.